they brought him on stage in a wheelchair, and he had a butter knife in his hand. And I asked him what he was going to do with the knife, and he looked at me and he said, "I'm going to cut your throat."
Erica, how are you doing? As we're talking, heat lightning is coming very fast. So, I mean, it's not that this is your first rodeo, as it were, but under this calm, relaxing person, is there excitement raging that is going to come out? What's your emotional state right now?
Well, I mean, funny that you should say calm and relaxing, because I don't know that everybody would necessarily characterize me that way, but thanks. That's nice. I am very excited.
Yeah.
I am really thrilled that for the first time in my musical career, all of the back end elements seem to be working well too.
Right. Yeah. Let's use that. Let's dig a little deeper because, I mean, in the trad metal scene, you are a well-known band, but for the broader masses, you're only, you're still kind of like in that stage of breaking through, if you will.
Mhm.
Previous album that came out was a big step forward, and with the support of Metal Blade, but came out in this wonderful period that everybody was locked away.
It was wild. Yeah.
Is Is this album going to be the jump that the previous one should have been, based on your comments?
I don't know. I mean, you never know. But certainly, judging from how things have lined up this time and the way that things have been received, it's possible.
Yeah,
You know, sure,
yeah.
possible. I mean, we're ready for it either way. We're here for
Yeah.
it, whether it's the jump or the next move. I don't know.
Comet streaks across the sky. A harbinger of
Let's dive into the new album. What is fun straight away, and this is important in quote unquote your scene or the scene that you're part of, is, I mean, I don't know if trad metal is a good name for it, but I love trad metal. I'll see you at Hell's Heroes in a few weeks from now.
Oh, great. We're
Um,
opening the whole festival, so
I
get
know.
ready.
And that first day's line is long for getting in there. So
Oh, I
come
know.
early, everybody. Come early.
Yes.
But and I think that's my favorite day also. For the festival, like the lineup is really really fun,
The
right?
lineup is great. Yeah, they always
Yeah.
stack Thursday. It's really good.
Um, justifying taking that Thursday off, right? Um,
Right. Hell yeah.
So I mean, I love that whole scene, but I think it can also be sometimes very restrictive or prescriptive. And on this album, you guys are not at all listening to those rules, right? Because you get a very
Okay.
varied album for
Mm.
you guys. We get punky songs, we get some folky hard rock, we even get some doom elements. We've got wab and bangers that are happening. Was that was that going into this? Was that a conscious approach though, or does that just come natural? Or like help me understand the mindset of the band going
Well,
into this.
I would say it's more of a natural thing because, like, the fact that we were adopted or, like sort of considered trad metal is, I mean, definitely by design, just based on the personal musical inspirations that we all have. However, I think with every album, at least for me, I have brought elements of what I love, which is not necessarily trad metal, which is
Right.
more, I mean, I love, obviously I'm into all of it, but for me, like my favorite band in the whole world is the MC5.
There you go.
And I love that kind of vocal harmonies, There's something about a Detroit style vocal harmony, whether it's Motown or MC5. Yeah. So that kind of stuff is not necessarily coming from trad metal. I also really love like Tina Turner and Ronnie Spector and singers like that. So I want to bring that into this.
I know you guys are playing a show of Lady Beast soon. I mean, love those guys as well. I consider Deborah a good friend of mine. There's with yourselves, with Lady Beast, with Mean Mistreater, Savage Master, Bloodstar. It seems that what wasn't the case for a long time in this particular scene, it's the most normal thing now to have, whether women playing instruments or behind a microphone. Is it a genuine like community as well? Because I do notice that those bands do often
I will
support each
say
other.
that it absolutely is. I was just thinking about that yesterday, actually, because I was on the phone with Deb.
Yeah.
And there have been other times in my life where I really got to appreciate and participate in pretty female, gender parity scenes.
Right.
Scenes where there were as much women as there were men. And that was localized to where I lived in San Francisco at the time in the 90s. And I really yearned for something like that. And I feel like we're getting there for sure. Yeah. And we are all friends. We all support each other. And all the dudes that we work with are totally down.
Yeah. No, for sure. It does feel, and Hell's Heroes is becoming like this interesting spot, I find, as well, for, on paper, an underground heavy metal festival in Texas. You'd be like, what's that gonna be like? But when you go there, I've been there a couple of times now.
Fun.
It's fun. It's a varied crowd, varied bands now. We get a little bit more extreme bands these days as well, but maybe not like the stereotypical snapshot of Texas that you might expect when you walk in the door there. It's good to have these light points.
Actually, it's the whole world.
Yeah.
A lot of people travel for that. So,
for sure.
And it really does feel like community, which is nice.
Yeah. Are you seeing that pop up more? I mean, I don't want to turn this into a political conversation in any way, shape, or form. I mean, we could, but it feels like, looking from the outside into the States, as up here in Canada, the story I tell myself is we could use a few more Hell's Heroes spread around the States. Are you seeing? There are smaller festivals popping up now, Blades of Steel and Mile Hall Fest and all these kind of things. But are you seeing that in the more local scenes as well? Is there something brewing? Because it seems that traditional metal, whether it's trad metal or power metal or what have you, it's not necessarily mainstream music in the States, but it's claiming its spot a little bit more again in the last few years. Is that true?
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of how punk came out in the 80s a little bit, where pockets of people would sort of cross-pollinate, and then all of a sudden in Indianapolis you have a scene that kind of sounds a little New York hardcore, a little this, a little that, So yeah, it kind of reminds me of that, and that's pretty natural, like the way that comes together.
Yeah. Okay. Now that you mentioned hardcore, I kind of have to use that as a semi-forced segue to your producing team that helped you out. I already said that there are some punky elements on this album. There's obviously, you have a punky element within you. We know that. I feel that like on this album, because you said like, oh, we kind of always do that, but to me at least as a listener, I feel that on this album that's more profound. And working with a different producing team that worked with some of the greats in hardcore, and punk music, that might not be the traditional, team to do a trad metal album. Has that experience, has that emboldened the band to take that variety and cross-pollination of different genres even more? Like when you were already thinking about what's coming next, should we expect you guys to double down on that?
No, I mean, not necessarily. The album was completely written
Got it.
and arranged before we chose the producers, right? So I think one memory I have is of me and Jeremy talking and me saying, kind of want to make a more aggressive record,
Right.
you know? And then in the arranging of the sort of chord structures and verse chorus kernels that he brought to the table, we definitely came to it with that intention.
Yeah. 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 Okay.
But like, I have to say, for me, every record has that.
Time after time we wind up in disbelief.
It's a fun album because all the songs are so different, which makes it, it's a fun listening experience. You don't kind of forget songs because they're too similar, if you will, right? But one song that stands out with "The Fight of Your Life," where, if I understand correctly, it's commentary on the lifestyle that you've chosen, and keep going at it. Is that, should we look at that as first and foremost a celebration of daring to take that step, or is that a song that the band has to write to remind yourselves at times when things aren't going great that this is the fight and that you've chosen this?
No, it is actually an homage to two lifers in particular. The first verse is about a guy named Sidell Davis who's passed away, but he was touring into the late 90s and he was a Delta blues guitarist who had polio and his fingers were gnarled. And then he ended up in a wheelchair for some other reason. I think he was like crushed in a stampede or something. But at any rate, this guy got fucked up by life, right?
Right.
And so I work as an audio technician for live music, and I was doing monitors for the show that Sidell was a part of. And they brought him on stage in a wheelchair, and he had a butter knife in his hand. And I asked him what he was going to do with the knife, and he looked at me and he said, "I'm going to cut your throat." And then he proceeded to fret with the knife and, just kind of claw pick with the other hand, and he slayed. He was just amazing. And I was so struck by that because, one, he was cheeky as fuck. And two, he was really talented.
Right.
And he had come up with a way of tuning the guitar and fretting and picking that worked for the way his body worked.
Yeah. Is this song completely an homage, or is there an element of guidance to yourself in this song?
I don't need that kind of guidance. I've been doing this for a long time. There is no other way.
Yeah.
For me. The second verse is about Ross the Boss, who we did a tour with. And he is also a lifer in a lot of ways.
Oh, yeah.
He's structured his life and, his work life and all of it around being able to play.
Yeah. Okay. Well, you'll be living that life and you'll be going on the road. You're going with Savage Master on the road. And we're also obviously playing on Hell's Heroes, so it's going to be a big party. With so many different songs, you can kind of take the audience in different moods and directions, right? Because a punk song and a doom song are vastly different things. So you can build a fun roller coaster as a set.
Yeah.
What can we expect then from the tour coming up? Because you now have more than a few songs that you can build a set with. Are you going
That's
to?
a great question.
What can we expect? Like, are you gonna be focused mostly on the new album, or what's it gonna be like?
I think we will play at least 3 songs off the new album.
Okay.
I think that we will probably keep it pretty hopped up, so the doomier, more laid back stuff may be less.
Yeah.
But, it's also a good question for the fans. Because I'd like to put it out to them as well before we prep the set.
Well, I'm sure that you'll start getting a lot of feedback once this album comes out. And then, like, what I always find it interesting when bands that are quote unquote just 3 people on a stage, the so-called power trio. Because there's nowhere to hide, right? Like if you're playing guitar in a band that has 3 lead guitar players these days, which is not that uncommon anymore, and a bunch of backing tracks and what have you, people can kind of like disappear in the collective, if you will, if that's needed. That's not possible for you guys.
Yeah,
like
3-piece
front and
keeps
center.
you honest. It keeps you doing your homework. That's for sure.
Should we then also expect that, based on everything that you told me, that when you are writing a song, you might not consciously think about, we need a song like that, a song like that. And you said it kind of comes natural, but is it kind of like an unspoken rule that songs can only appear on an album that are quote unquote easily played by 3 people on stage? Like you're not a band that wants to fall back on too much magic.
We don't record stuff we can't play live.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, we wouldn't do that. No, we're pretty organic in that way, and I guess you could call it old school at this point.
Let's spill some blood. Let's show the world what we're made of.
We don't use tracks.
Yeah.
A lot of bands do, and so we don't even really use pedals that would qualify as such. You know what I mean? Like there's a lot of tricks that other folks use really effectively that we do not.
Yeah. So fair to say that every amp we see on your stage is a real amp as well, not a wall of empty boxes.
Yeah. There's only a guitar amp and a bass amp. Yeah.
There you go.
We're not using Kempers or
aesthetics.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I can't wait for 2 things. Number 1, the album coming out. Obviously, I've had a chance to listen to the album already, but it'll be exciting.
I'm so happy you like it.
There you go. I'm excited to see everything.
Friends.
I will. That's what we're doing here right now.
Yeah, I know. Everybody
all the subscribers will learn.
Yeah,
and then I'm excited to see
May 14th. And if you're going to Hell's Heroes, get there early because we go on at 12:30 on the outdoor stage.
There you go. It would be a shame that you have to listen to the band play while you're lining up around.
Please make that line go faster.
There you go. Well, Erica, I will see you at Hell's Heroes.
Please come
we'll
and
catch
say
up
hi.
there, and
Absolutely.
We'll let everybody enjoy the new album when it's out on March 14th. Thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate it, and have a wonderful rest of the day.
Nice to meet you, Jasper.
You are awesome for watching this video. Click right here to see more content like it and subscribe to the channel.